Geeta, there is a sense that Prime Minister Modi from day one decided, I'm going to make this a pan-India event. It's not just about what happens between the 8th and 10th of September when the heads of state come, but I'm going to make it an annual pan-India event, take it from Nagaland to Goa, hold events right across the year. Do you see that as an objective that this government has fulfilled, and was that the political messaging that was sent out there, that this is not just another routine diplomatic event, this is India showcasing itself to the world? Was that the message, and do you really think that that objective has been achieved?
Well, I think in many ways the objective of the Indian administration was, one, putting India on the global map, which they did wonderfully, 200 meetings across India, more than 50 cities, but also it was a little political in nature, keeping all the elections in mind, ensuring that they're not holding events in the states that are holding elections or having elections to stay away from controversy, yet having it in cities like Srinagar, which is not just domestic politics, but also across the border, sending out the message to our neighborhood. So there was a lot of messaging all through the year. But in terms of deliverables, like Ambassador Kachu said, it's the outcome document. The biggest challenge for India, Rajdeep, is going to be the outcome document and consensus on the outcome document. India did a wonderful job in Indonesia, pressing upon all leaders to get that statement in where it says it's not an era of war. But today, Russia is objecting to that. China is objecting to everything that is an Indian initiative, whether it is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, millets, or for that matter, India's own proposal for women's empowerment statement. So the biggest challenge will be whether if there will be an outcome document or footnotes. You know,
it's interesting. While that is what the foreign policy watchers will look at, the average voter is not looking at that. The average voter is identifying Mr. Modi with G20. You go across the country anywhere, Mr. Modi's photograph is there on every hoarding. So he's personalized it. And the last time, something like this happened, 1983, Indira Gandhi did NAM in the first half of the year and then did Chogam in the second half of the year. But by 1984, barely 6 months later, she was in serious political trouble. So what happened?
There is no comparison between NAM and G20. G20 is 80% of the world's GDP. NAM is like literally the countries which aren't as economically powerful.
Rahul, it's what India was in the 1980s. For the 1980s generation, when you had all these leaders from across the world descending both for NAM and Chogam, Mrs. Gandhi made it a sign of India being sort of the leader of the NAM movement, being an important player in Chogam.
Economically less developed countries. Sure, but Prime Minister Modi, on the other hand, is signaling through G20 that India has arrived on the world stage as a major power, as an equal to some of the biggest countries and economies of the world. It's a very different projection.
No, but
he's not looking to lead the non-aligned world. He's looking to lead the world as the Vishwamitra.
He is looking also to get political benefit out of it. And the political benefit that he hopes to get is the Indian middle class, which has grown exponentially between the 1980s and today, will be razzled and dazzled by exactly what you said, that we have arrived on the global stage. So I think there is a political message, not just in the manner that Geeta explained very well about going to Jammu and Kashmir, saying, look, we are staging a big global event in Jammu and Kashmir, taking it to even non-BJP ruled states, which I think was important.
But that's a bit unfair, because if you, for example, see the kind of effort that happened in the B20, which is the Business 20, where we'd gone this morning, whether it's in Chandrasekharan of Tata Sons, the whole Sajjan Jindal, Sunil Bharti Mittal, the whole lot of corporate leaders, the manner in which corporates have been involved, startups have been involved, tourism has been involved, they've really put a lot of heart and soul in this. Political benefit may be a side effect, but they've really gone all out to try and genuinely ensure that India sweats this presidency much more than countries in the past have.
It's also because, remember in the 1980s, when these big multilateral events were organized in India, we were a 3% economy. We were an economy growing at the so-called Hindu rate of growth. Today, we are an economy hoping to become the third largest in the world. So I think it's changed, the optics have changed, but a lot of G20 is, the point I'm making is about the political optics to send out the message not just to the world, but also to a domestic audience, that India has arrived on the world stage and then use that.
No, but there are genuine big ideas. For
just
example, bringing the African Union into the G20. That's India wanting to show that it is a Vishwamitra to the world, a friend to the world, and wanting to lead or include the African Union in the G20 agenda. For example, wanting to reform multilateral development banks or pushing ahead on sustainable development goals. There's a lot of genuine effort. I mean, to link everything to politics is a bit unfair. Politics may be a consequential impact of what happens, but that's not what's driving this.
We will know, we can give an informed judgment on what benefits G20 has had in the years ahead. I'm talking about here and now.
I'm talking about the effort. I'm talking about the effort
is
that's going.
undoubted. The effort is in the number of events that you've organized from Nagaland to Goa. That's never happened. When you had Chogam Nam, it was just a single event. I think the genius of this government has been the ability to use what is, in a way, a routine rotational membership to project to the world that India has arrived. I mean, that is where they've succeeded.
But
I think that's the success.
Also bringing in a lot of important subjects and topics, climate change, women's empowerment in the manner in which the Indian administration is pushing. These are very important subjects that other countries do not really focus on.
Rajdeep, I think you're being unfair. To stamp on the world the Indian vision of things. For example, the importance being given to the global south. The impact, the Prime Minister says he wants it to be a catalyst of a new world order, which is not led just by a few countries in Europe and the United States to actually rearrange global banks like the World Bank, the WTO. So there's a lot of effort that's going in that, which it's a little unfair to compare it directly to domestic politics.
I am only
But there's
saying
some politics involved. I'll give an example. Rahul.
Yeah, please go ahead.
One example is that Prime Minister Modi keeps talking about cooperative federalism, but when you see all the 200 events and 50 cities in all the states, whether it's BJP-ruled or non-BJP-ruled states, you only see Modi's hoardings. So the cooperative federalism where state governments should have been more involved.
Respond to that. Should they have also got Siddaramaiah, say some of the other, like a Bhupesh Baghel, if something is happening in Chhattisgarh, should it have been more cooperative if it is actually non-political? Let Mr. Kaju respond to that.
Look, two things there. One, I don't think that the presence of G20 delegates, who are after all middle-level delegates in most cases, impacts the world as such. It impacts India, and if it was impacting India, then of course it should have involved everyone. But here I would make just 2 points. One, the manner in which Mr. Modi did project G20 right from the beginning, from the day India assumed its G20 presidency, showed an enormous amount of political imagination. It was diplomatically, this was unique, but I don't think that it really impacted the chanceries of the world. And certainly, it did not go beyond the chanceries of the world. Second, is that you are right, and Geeta mentioned that the outcome document is a very important thing. And Mr. Modi realizes, and I'm sure Jaishankar realizes, he's been in this game long enough to realize that it will be extremely difficult to come to a consensus document. In the ministerial meetings, they've been taking the shield of what was achieved at Bali and reproducing the Bali paragraphs as far as Ukraine is concerned. Now, that can't be done at the summit level. So, in order to bypass that, you are projecting yourselves as the leaders of the South, global South, and pressing the issues of the global South, and therefore saying we are transforming the world.